All right, good morning. The Committee on Parole is called to order. Today is Tuesday, October 22nd, 2024. It is 9:03 a.m. My name is Cheryl Renatza, serving as chairman of today's parole panel. Seated to my left is Mr. Chucky Tillis, and to my right is Mr. Danny Byra. We are today's parole panel. We are seated at DOC headquarters in Baton Rouge. I'd like for the staff who is here in support of today's hearings to please introduce themselves for the record. Jasmine Thompson. Sure. Whitney Charles Clare.
Francis Abbott.
Right, thank you. And our first remote location this morning is at Dixon Correctional Institute. And with the staff there at DCI, please introduce yourself for the record.
Deputy Warden Keith Turner.
Donald Cavalier, Classification Manager.
Ashley Bradley, Records Manager.
Alvin King, Reentry Director.
Jamie Duvall, Mental Health.
Is that everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
Good, thank y'all. Thank you for accommodating us this morning. And we have Mr. Sullivan,
Yes, ma'am.
Would you introduce yourself to the panel? Tell us your name and DOC number, please.
My name is Craig Sullivan, 127647.
All right. And let me ask, I see that you have some folks there at DCI. Can you, Mr. Sullivan, tell us their name and what's their relationship to you?
I have my mother, Diane Hunt, my sister, DERRICK Jacobs, my cousin, Gerard Thomas, and my other cousin, Miss Mary Bell.
All right. And we also have joining us in support, Mia Lowry with the First 72. Which of your guests there at DCI will speak on your behalf, Mr. Sullivan?
My cousin, Gerard Thomas, and my sister, DERRICK Jacobs.
Okay, at the appropriate time, we'll call on them to do that. Also here with us in Baton Rouge, we have some folks in opposition. We have Mr. Mark Kramer, Ms. Audrey Tucker, Diana Lawson, Kevin Lawson, and Olivia LeBlanc. And those who indicated they'd like to speak, we'll call on them at the appropriate time to do so. First, Mr. Sullivan, I'm going to read some identifying information into the record. You've been through this process, so you understand it. We have a little bit different format, and I'll get to that in just a moment. So, Mr. Sullivan, you're classified as a third felony offender. You're currently serving a 43-year sentence. You were sentenced in January. You have an original sentence in February of 1991 for a simple burglary of an inhabited dwelling. You were placed on parole that was revoked for a new felony conviction for which you were sentenced January of 2000. And that is attempted second-degree murder, aggravated burglary, attempted armed robbery, cruelty to juveniles. Your parole eligibility date was August 1st, 2021, and your good to is August 19, 2025. Is that information correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Mr. Sullivan, first we'd like for you this morning to take a moment and tell us what led you to jail, why are you in jail, and why do you believe we should vote favorably for you today?
Ms. Renaz and other members of the parole board. Today I come before the parole board a new man, a new person. Taking every class that has been made available to me to help correct my negative decision-making and my criminal addictive behavior. I'm a graduate of the STAR program, which is Department of Corrections' highest rated rehabilitation program. I'm a Primaxis Toastmaster. I've also graduated from victim awareness, living in balance, anger management, substance abuse, relapse prevention, nurturing and parenting. And as the parole board can see in my records, I've taken and graduated from several more classes as well. I'm a trustee. I'm a Dawn representative. I'm a mentor to the inmate population. I'm a regular attendee at AANA meetings, have been for several years now. I know the crime that I committed was evil, it was selfish. And there's nothing I can do to change that. But I have worked long and hard and diligently to change the person that committed the crime. And I have accomplished that. Today, I would just like to apologize to Ms. Kramer, Mr. Kramer, their children, for all the pain and suffering that I put them through. And I just want to let Ms. Kramer know that I'm not the same person that did this crime 25 years ago. And today, I'd just like to ask them for their forgiveness.
All right. All right, thank you. We'll go on and hear from the folks who are here in support. First, we'd like to hear from the First 72.
Good morning. My name is Mia Lowy, and I'm from the First 72 Plus. I'd like to thank the board for giving me the opportunity to speak today on behalf of Mr. Craig Sullivan. The First 72 Plus is a reentry organization. We're based in New Orleans. We are dedicated to stopping the cycle of incarceration by providing adequate support to those who are returning home from prison. I received a letter from Mr. Sullivan months back asking for support upon his release. He took the initiative to write to me, and since then we have been in communication. He was interviewed and accepted into our transitional housing program. If he's released, he will be housed with us for 90 days free of charge. During that time, he will work intensively with his case manager, and they will meet at least twice a week working on employment. So things like a resume, applying for jobs, interview skills, as well as opening a bank account, learning how to budget to then afford housing after he finishes his 90 days housed with us. We have additional supports with our organization, such as our life skills class that is 10 days that will help him acclimate to life once released, as well as our 9 Steps to Staying Free class, which is a weekly peer support group. It is led by one of our co-founders, and it creates a space for formerly incarcerated people to talk to each other and give advice about the difficulties that they're facing once they've come back to society, and how to manage their emotions, keep a positive attitude, a lot like the classes that they take while they are inside. Mr. Sullivan specifically named that he knows he needs structure and support beyond his family. He specifically wants to be surrounded by other formerly incarcerated people so they can speak to the experience and know how to support each other. Mr. Sullivan will also have access to our public benefits clinic, so helping him get set up with any benefits and documentation that he may need. In terms of his substance use, Mr. Sullivan named that he was not concerned about relapsing after his release, but he was very happy to complete an assessment with CADA to create a substance use plan. So I've attached that along with a letter of support. So once released, he will be receiving mental health counseling and substance abuse counseling from CADA. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak today, and I appreciate it.
All right, thanks for those remarks. We appreciate it. So we'll hear from the folks at DCI now. We first hear from DERRICK Colbert.
How you doing? My name is DERRICK Colbert. I'm Craig Sullivan's sister. I would just like to start off by saying that I'm very sorry to the Kramer family for the horrific thing that my brother did 25 plus years ago. I'm just asking for forgiveness for my brother, to give him another chance to come home to society, to the family, to get it right at this time. He has a lot of family support that's going to be there for him. Once he gets through with all the programs and everything, if he is allowed to come home, then he'll be residing with me.
All right, thank you. We appreciate it. And Mr. Thomas.
My name is Gerard Thomas. I'm the owner of MRG Construction. I also giving Craig Sullivan a job, but I'm also apologize to the Kramer family for his actions, you know, because he also is a relative of mine also. But I know he's a changed guy. The actions he did was in his 20s. I know you think a lot different when you're in your 40s or 50s. You look at life totally different. Not neglecting what he had already done, but I do believe that he's a changed man from even this conversation. And I also know I go to Officials of Men Tabernacle. We also have men fellowship, different things that we can help him and support. He got a support system that's there for him, not just spiritually, but financially, wherever he needs to be successful in society, I'm here for him. And other brothers I know that's backing him. And I just want to apologize once again to the Kramer family and all the stuff that, you know, transpired, not, you know, in their lives also. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I do have some, let me read the red cards. We have Mr. Miss Olivia LeBlanc submitted a statement that we haven't record. Kevin Lawson says, Craig, go ahead. You can go ahead. Craig left my wife for dead. He was given a sentence and needs to serve it. My wife will serve a sentence the rest of her life. Thank you. We have some folks who are here. Could we first hear from Mr. Kramer?
Yes, ma'am. I'm via Zoom. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your efforts today. And I am pleased, and I hope that Craig is a changed man, and I do forgive him, but that doesn't mean that he needs to be released. I just want to recap real quick. You know, he broke into our home and was staging our things by the back door when my family returned. He could have pushed his way past them and run out the back door through the backyard and escaped. But instead, he decided to attack. He threw a glass bud vase, a thick glass bud vase, and it shattered all over the place. He then chased her around the island in the kitchen and broke a cast iron skillet over her head. Do you know how hard you have to hit somebody over the head with a cast iron to break a cast iron skillet? The prosecutors told us they didn't think he intended to kill her. He just didn't care one way or the other. I disagree. I think he intended and was hoping to kill her to get away with his crime. He ran out of the house, then ran back in and asked where the money was. Did I get that right, Craig? As you know, I wasn't there. I was out trying to provide for my family and pay for the items you were trying to steal. As you could tell, I'm not there again today because, again, I am working. Only now I'm working to pay for you, to clothe you, to feed you, to keep a roof over your head. Ladies and gentlemen of the parole board, the other day, my car was parked in a parking garage. Someone was driving too fast around a corner and hit the front end of my car. It removed the front bumper and tore up the front of the car. The gentleman that did it had enough integrity to leave me a note. He took ownership of his failure. He totally took care of all the repairs and made my car whole again. He didn't get to just replace the bumper or the light cowling. He paid to get the whole thing back the way it was before he damaged it. That's how it works. You pay your debt and try to make things right. I'm here to ask you to deny parole and have Craig Sullivan pay his debt. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kramer, for taking the time to speak to us this morning. All right, here we have, I'll let you all here decide who wants to speak first. And just when you get up there, just introduce yourself and tell us your relationship to the victim.
Good morning. I'm Audrey Kramer Temple. When I was 7 years old, my home was invaded and my mother and 2-year-old brother were violently attacked by Mr. Craig Sullivan. While my 5-year-old sister went on. We watched as our mother was hit with multiple objects, dropped our baby brother, and fell to the ground in a pool of her own blood. We were chased, screamed at, demanded to sit down, and asked for money. A piece of our innocence was stolen that day. We knew things about the world and evil that plagues it that no child should ever. Our home was no longer the safe space we had always known it to be. To be honest, home has never been that way again. None of us can return home even today from even just a neighborhood walk without fearing who might be in our. Mr. Sullivan had plenty of opportunity to run, to leave our home and not lay a hand on any of us or speak to us. He didn't. He chose violence that day. He chose to leave and return times. Thankfully, due to the diligent work of the Baton Rouge Police Department, he was captured that very same afternoon. While Mr. Sullivan's heinous crime has left fears and physical and emotional scars that we will live with for the rest of our lives, a huge part of our healing came from the fact that he was in prison and would be for a very long time, and there was no possibility for that to change. I am now the same age my mother was and have children the same age I was when this act was committed against us. I cannot fathom my children being exposed to such evil. Not imagine what my parents went through knowing their babies were living such trauma while they themselves waited for the same trauma. I wrestled with whether again I wanted to speak today or not. I wasn't sure I wanted to bring up the memories and revisit the events of that day again. It is dreadful to have to continually face our attacker and relive that day and plead our case for why he deserves to serve the sentence he was given. In the end, I decided to again speak because I couldn't live with myself if Mr. Sullivan was released and went on to commit for a 4th time. Mr. Sullivan, I do pray that you are a changing man. I pray that you have found your savior and that you do go on to live a changed life. Ladies and gentlemen of the full board, I'm begging you to keep this man incarcerated. I, my sister and mother, and even our families are serving life sentence of mental and emotional trauma from the actions of this man keep getting brought up as he attempts to evade a portion of his consequences. It's unfair. What's not unfair is the sentence that Craig Sullivan was given some 25 years ago. Please give us the decency of forcing him to serve this sentence. Please allow me, my family, and now my children the opportunity for more time with this man being put away. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Diana Lawson. I am the victim of Craig Sullivan's crime. Mr. Sullivan, I want you to know I do forgive you. As I do, and just as my daughter said, I hope and pray that you have found salvation. I hope and pray that you are a changed man. But also want you to know what damage you caused me, my 3 children, and my entire family. Actions have a ripple effect, whether it's a good or a bad thing, it has a ripple effect. It doesn't just affect the person that the crime was attended upon, or the good thing that it was attended upon. If it's not a crime, it affects so many other people. And this has affected so many other people besides just me and my 3 children. So many other people. When you entered my home that day in June of 1999, you changed our lives forever. When you came after me with a glass face and struck me in the face and then over the head with an iron skillet while I held my 2-year-old son, you changed my life forever. I questioned everything at that point. I questioned God, I questioned safety, I questioned my own existence, because how could such evil come into my home? How could that happen? When my 7 and 5-year-old daughters watched you viciously attack me in our home, you changed their lives forever. You left me for dead, and it is only by the grace of God and some very hardworking law enforcement officers that you were captured that very day. I never had to worry whether or not you would come back after me. My children knew the bad man was taken away and put in jail for a very long time. That was a huge part of our healing. And now this. My children and I have been sentenced to a lifetime of emotional damage. So why shouldn't you serve out your 40-year sentence in your attempt to kill me and my son? You were sentenced fairly and appropriately. You deserve to live out your full sentence. I know people change, and for your sake, I pray you have. I believe in mercy and grace, but I also believe that we are subject to consequences when we have chosen to do the wrong thing. You chose crime that day. You chose to viciously attack me and my son that day. You could have chosen differently, but you didn't. The thought of you being released and perhaps committing this crime on another family or person literally makes me ill. I would never want anyone to go through what my family and I have. To the parole board, I'm asking you to keep Craig Sullivan incarcerated for the term of the sentence. My children are now grown. They have children of their own. I see their innocence. I see their naivety. I see my daughters living their lives like I did, innocently coming home from grocery shopping one afternoon, never realizing the evil waiting for them in their home, like I did. This cannot happen to another family. This cannot be allowed to ruin another home. Please tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Lawson, did you want to speak? Did you want to speak? Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. All right, I see that we have the DA's office that has joined us, Ms. Tracy Barbera, but after we do our interview, Ms. Barbera will call on you to close it out for us. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Warden Turner, before we start our interview, is there anything you can tell us about Mr. Sullivan?
Good morning, Ms. Renata and the board members. Our role in this is to speak on the individual as far as what they've done since they've been incarcerated. All right, and Craig has done some good things since he's been incarcerated. Early on during his incarceration, he had some disciplinary issues, but he seemed to have gotten that worked out. He's a level 2 trustee. He's completed Victims Impact and numerous other programs. He's a Pride member, and he also is one of the dorm representatives, as he said earlier. So since we've had him, he's definitely, like I said, done a lot of good things, and he's definitely putting himself on the right track.
We appreciate your input. So, Mr. Sullivan, your case was assigned to me, so I'll take the lead on the interview. I know that as I reviewed your record, you appeared before a parole panel back in January of 23, and you were denied at that time for the reasons I noted was you had, of course, victim opposition, you had a poor supervision history, your institutional conduct record was noted, and the need for long-term substance abuse. So can you tell us, since that hearing, which of those issues have you addressed?
Yes, ma'am. The parole board recommended me for long-term substance abuse. As my parole board hearing was over, I was placed into the STAR program, which I stated earlier is the Department of Corrections' most highest rated drug rehabilitation program. It took me over a year to complete this program, but I have successfully completed it. I've also completed substance abuse, relapse prevention, AANA, been going to meetings for several years now. And as parole board can note in my records, I completed several more drug rehabilitation programs as well. As I stated earlier, I just want to apologize to Ms. Kramer and her family. I understand the way that they feel. And I never understood what I did wrong until my mother and my sister's house was broken into and they lost all their stuff too. I never meant to hurt anyone. I'm not that type of person. The crimes I committed were evil and selfish, and there's no excuse I can ever give for that type of behavior that I exhibited that day. But I'm not the person that entered into this place 25 years ago, Ms. Manasseh and the parole board. I've done everything I physically can, humanly can, to change. I don't think the same way. I've learned critical thinking skills now. I understand wellness. I just understand so much now.
Well, that's good to hear. That means you're getting something out of the programs. Were you, so you've been in 25 years?
Yes, ma'am.
And as I mentioned when we got started, you're a third offender. Did you complete the impact program some time ago?
1989, 90.
And so you were paroled after that. Did you, were you successful on that parole?
No, ma'am.
You had a new felony conviction?
Yes, ma'am.
And then you had another period of supervision as well. Did you?
No, ma'am.
So you just been on supervision once?
Twice.
Twice. You completed satisfactorily the second period of supervision?
No, ma'am.
What happened that time?
I committed the simple burglary and discharge here.
Okay. So that was why you were on supervision. So tell us this panel about your history of substance abuse.
Well, I would say that I started smoking marijuana when I would say like 13, 14 years old. Started drinking when I was 17. When I became incarcerated, as you know, I had 40 years. I didn't know how I was gonna do 40 years. I couldn't even begin to even much think how I was gonna do that. I eventually turned to drugs to try to escape and became addicted, got a real bad addiction to marijuana and mojo. I eventually broke free from the addiction after a real bad incident with my mother. And I have been drug free for over 4 years now.
What'd you get out of STAR? Isn't that for opiates?
Yes, ma'am.
What'd you program?
The STAR program introduced me to wellness. I never knew nothing about, I never knew nothing about environmental wellness, social wellness, financial wellness, overall wellness, period. I didn't know that going back to my old neighborhood or hanging around my old friends were triggers for negativity. This program taught me that. This program also introduced me to core beliefs, showed me how my core beliefs as a young man had a lot to do with my core beliefs as an adult. And I was eventually able to change my core beliefs from negative to positive. This program is also, it's not just a program about addiction. It's a program that teaches you about life, period. I learned how to write a cover story, how to handle myself doing interviews. It just taught me how to be a better person, period, Ms. Renas.
Well, that's good to hear. You do have, you still have very strong opposition to early release. This time also included is the objection by the Attorney General's office. We'll hear from the DA's office in a moment, but there's law enforcement opposition. Well, you do have a lot of letters of support in your record that we reviewed. Over 15 letters of support have come in, so that's a good thing. I'm going to just sit back and listen to what others have to say. Any questions, colleagues? All right, I don't see any questions, so we'd ask Ms. Marbera for the DA's position.
Thank you, Chairman Renata. Again, Tracy Barbera for the District Attorney in the 19th Judicial District. As stated in our written opposition, and as Chairman Renata just discussed, we are very concerned about early release due to this offender's lengthy criminal record, his poor supervision history, and the emotional impact upon the victims is clearly evident this morning. There's nothing more I can say to bring that home. I heard Mr. Sullivan refer to his family members losing some stuff, and these victims lost much more than stuff. I'm looking at his disciplinary record, and I am very concerned about a contraband just a little over 3 years ago, and the intoxications so late into his term of incarceration. I recognize the programs that the Department of Correction offers for substance abuse are very good programs. And I just think Mr. Sullivan needs to have a little more time to show that he has in fact benefited from these programs. We just respectfully request that he not be granted early release today and maybe come back in a few more years. I think the victim's family recognizes that he will not spend the rest of his life in jail, but we would respectfully submit that he needs to prove himself a little longer before he's considered for early release. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. All right, Mr. Sullivan. I think we're ready to vote. I'll be voting first. And that's one thing I did not mention, although the warden mentioned, you do have a loss of 527 days of good time. I will acknowledge that you've had 427 of those days restored. That's good. And the warden indicated that you may have gotten control of that. I did make a note in my record that of the June 2021 contraband, which is concerning. We have a new rule now that you have to be write-up free for 3 years to even be eligible for it to sit for a hearing, and you barely have met that criteria. But it is concerning to me. My vote today is going to be to deny. I don't think today's your day. You've done well on your interview today. You've said all the right things. And I believe too, I do agree with the district attorney's office that I need a little more sustained period of time to show that you really have learned something from the programs. So my vote today for those reasons and the opposition that's been expressed here today is to deny you parole, but I do encourage you to reapply when you're eligible to do so after having sustained a good record. Mr. Tillis.
I commend you for what you've been doing since you've been there. My vote today is to deny because of the opposition type of crime. And I think you need more time served.
Mr. Byron.
And I'm going to concur with my colleagues for the same reasons.
All right, so today, Mr. Sullivan, your parole has been denied today. Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you. All right, man. Did good, yeah.
All right, good morning, Mr. Jacobs. Y'all are still on mute, it sounds like. There you go. Would you, Mr. Jacobs, introduce yourself, tell us your name and DOC number?
My name is DERRICK JACOBS, 12/20/28.
Yes. All right, Mr. Jacobs, you've been through this process before. So let me just start out by acknowledging the folks who have joined us. We have Michael, I think it's Jacobs, maybe is it Michael?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it Jacob? Okay, I haven't typed it. Audrey Jacobs, Ardance Winbush, and Alfred Bell. And we will call on those who've indicated they'd like to speak at the appropriate time. Mr. Bell, I guess, is by Zoom. Yes. Okay, thank you. So first, Mr. Jacobs, let me read some identifying information and we'll get started. Mr. Jacobs, you're classified as a fourth felony offender. You're currently serving a 68-year, 6-month sentence. You were sentenced initially in 1996 for inciting a felony and then you've had a couple of revocations on that conviction. Most recent sentencing is in East Baton Rouge Parish in 1998 for armed robbery. You received a 68-year sentence on that. Your parole eligibility date was August 1st, 2021, with a good time release date, March 28, 2055. Does all that sound correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Our format is a little different, Mr. Jacobs. We're going to start out by asking you to tell us in your own words what led you to prison and why do you think we should vote to grant your parole today?
Speak now?
Go ahead.
Yes.
Well, what led me to prison was I was a selfish individual back then, and not utilizing the tools that God gave me. And we committed a crime that was really totally unnecessary. And I would like to apologize to the victims, each and every one of the community and everybody for my actions. And the reason why you should vote for me, because I'm not the person that I was when I came in here. But when I get out, I will be a law-abiding citizen, a taxpayer, and I'll be an asset to the community and not a hindrance, not a liability. I've surrounded myself with people that are going to hold me accountable. I've been accepted into the Second Chance University Mentorship Program with Mr. Andre Norman and Dr. Donk. I've been utilizing the programs that have been available for me. I've established employment.
All right. Thank you for that information. Your case, Warden Turner, is there anything you can tell us about Mr. Jacobs?
Well, what I can say, Mr. Renats, is he had some disciplinary issues, but last 3 years he has remained right up free. He is a pride member here at DCI. He's done everything that we've asked him here. But I would like to see him take advantage of some of the other programming opportunities that we do offer here.
Thank you. Mr. Jacobs, your case has been assigned to Mr. Tillis, so he'll take the lead on the interview. Please answer his questions.
Yes, ma'am.
How are you, Mr. Jacobs?
Fine, sir.
How old were you when you started this crime spree?
Well, I was pretty young. I started committing crime when I was a juvenile. I was 28 when I come to jail on this charge.
Have you been taking some programs and classes there since you've been there?
Yes, sir. I have anger management, substance abuse, 12-step, 100 hours, reentry, victim awareness, multiple self-help courses in Bible study courses, CPR class, pretty much I wrote the mental health department and asked them to enroll me in any other programs that were available to me. And they said because of my low Title II score, there were no other programs available to me. So since then, I just been taking self-help classes. I graduated from United Fellowship Baptist College at Rayburn since the last time I met with Ms. Renaz and them. And they asked that I remain right up free. I could get their vote. I have since done that. And like I said, I've obtained other certificates since then.
How many years have you served so far?
27 years and 2 months.
What type of education have you acquired?
I have a GED.
You got your GED while you were there?
Yes, sir.
I see. And if released, what do you plan to do? Where would you work?
Well,
Yeah.
actually, I'll be working with Mr. Bell and his janitorial service, as well as with Miss Ordana Winbush, and with Street Team Movement, speaking to troubled youth. And I'll be a part of the Second Chance University staff after I complete the mentorship there.
I see. I have no more questions.
Mr. Byron?
What are the details involving the inciting a felony charge? What happened there?
Well, my co-defendants was alleged to have committed a crime, and they said the guy that was one of the victims said that I printed him out. Like I told them to do him something, basically.
And what was your part in the armed robbery itself? What did you do during that? I see there was 3 of y'all and there were different people did different things. At one point, y'all shared a gun. What was your part?
Well, the initial person, Ralph Holmes, after taking something off the victim, he wrenched me the gun, and I demanded something from the victim.
The jewelry?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
All right. That's all the questions I had.
So who was your victim?
Well, initially the lady that we robbed, but subsequently I have a whole lot of victims. The community, all the taxpayers, y'all my victims, my family, because of what I did had a ripple effect on everything around me.
Do you know the lady's name?
Miss Spillman, I believe it is.
Yes, Mary Stillman. You mentioned a lot of classes, but I only see in my record, you've earned 100, I think it was 135 days of time credit. And so when I look into the printout by DOC, which is dated September 23rd of this year, it looks like it's just a 100-hour curriculum that you've completed.
Well, Ms. Ferguson, the classification officer here, said that she mailed, that they faxed my parole packet to y'all with all my certificates, and my family member also delivered a packet with all my certificates in it to headquarters. I have all of them right here.
Well, I see some faith-based stuff.
I have.
Wouldn't go on that printout. Actually, what I got is the Bible classes. Tell us a little bit about Second Chance University. What is that?
It's a mentorship program. Just recently, Andre Norman and Dr. Donk, my brother talked with them and they accepted me into their mentorship program.
Where's that at?
Well, Dr. Donk is stationed in Georgia, but him and Mr. Andre Norman came here, and I spoke with Mr. Norman when he came here last year. After I recently came here in August of last year, and a week after I came, Dr. Donk and Mr. Andre Norman came, and I spoke with them about getting into their mentorship program. And just recently, they accepted me into their program.
Does that mean you go to Georgia?
No, it's actually nationwide.
So it's online?
Well, that I really didn't get specifics with it because he was only allowed to talk to so many people on hand when he came. It was like 200-300 of us there, and they only had so much time. And
okay. We do have a record of the courses you took. Some of those were at Angola, I believe, some time ago.
Angola, I started in 2002, 2001 with my certificate, with my programs there. I took victim awareness, 12-step.
Got it. We got it.
All right.
What do you think you need to be successful?
What I need to be successful?
Yep.
Well, first I need to acquire me a job. Well, I have a job. I just need to go out and take one day at a time and keep pushing forward to try to do the right thing and work hard and stay out of trouble. Utilize the programs that I've taken and lean on the people that I've surrounded myself with that's been giving me positive influence.
Right. Thank you. Let's hear from the folks who are here with us that want to speak. I failed to call on you first. Usually we take y'all first. So Mr. Michael Jacobs, would you want to step up to the podium and tell us what you? No?
Yeah, ready?
Yes, sir. Tell us your name, sir.
Good morning, my name is Mr. Jacob, Michael Jacob.
Okay.
Okay, and I'm his nephew, his uncle. That's my name. And we grew up together, you know, he more like a little brother to me. I'm the baby child of my family. And I communicate with him a lot, you know, and stuff, you know, and I'm a deacon at my church, right, Mount Gillon Baptist Church. My pastor is Lamar Baptiste, and like I said, I'm a deacon. And the guy he was talking about, Donkey, his car called us Well. He's a preacher that travels. He goes around everywhere. And see, he comes back and forth to Baton Rouge. And see, he got a mentorship program. And same way with me, I work with people too. And I work with a lot of enemies. And I hate, you know, but what I'm saying, I've been to prison myself. I went to prison, I did 11 years. I've been out 27 years. And right now, when I tell people, church people and stuff, everywhere I tell my pastor that I went to prison. And the first thing they said, I could never believe that, you know. And that's the same way I tell him, and I communicate with him all the time about taking, you know, the change that been made in him. He's a different person now. When he went in, I told him, like right now, when he went in, he had babies. Now he got grandbabies. And he understands that 27 years is a long time to do. See, I did 11. And believe me, and I came out and changed my whole life. I used to tell the free people that I came in, I was on drugs and stuff. I tell people don't even believe that I was never even on drugs and that. But I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do nothing. And see, and I tell people, I came in as a junkie, but I left out to be a born-again Christian. And the same way with him, me and Carl as well, Donkey, he's a preacher. We communicate with him a lot. and breathing, and we gonna constantly let him know anything he need to do, he can conquer it through Christ, through Jesus. All he needs is God. Follow God lead, and that's it.
Yes,
I
sir.
appreciate if y'all to take under consideration and whatever, let God lead y'all to make decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, can we hear from Mr. Bell? He's John.
Hello?
There we go. We can hear you.
Hello? Oh,
Yes,
okay.
sir.
Hi, my name's Alfred Bell. Okay, I'm Alfred Bell. I grew up with DERRICK Jacobs. Right now I'm a candidate for District 7 Metro City Council. I have my own business, Bell's Janitorial, and I have a nonprofit street team movement. If DERRICK Jacobs is released, he would come with me and start working with me. And while working with me, I will administer random drug tests because I require that to all of my employees. They take random drug tests, and I hire a lot of people who come from prison. So we have monthly meetings where we all get together and we discuss problems that we might have out here. Because I did 8 years in prison. I came home in 99. So when I came home in 99, I started my company, Bell's Janitorial. And I done had contracts with the city, the state, federal government, private. I got contracts everywhere from the airport to the LWC building. And I get together with people who have been to jail and I let them know you're not going to get everything in one day. Rome wasn't built in a day. You got to work for everything you want. And my main thing is keeping them busy and making sure they're not on drugs. So that's why I do random drug tests, because I know that is something out here that most people are on right now with the fentanyl and the opioid crisis. I make sure none of my employees are on any drugs, marijuana, anything. If you own any drugs, you cannot work for me. So if he's released, he will be watched and monitored because I would keep him busy with flow work. All your Dick's Sporting Goods in Louisiana, I do them. All your O'Reilly's from Slidell to Lake Charles, I do them. All your kinder cares in the state of Louisiana, I do them. So he have nothing but work to do. I will keep him busy and I will keep him tested. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bell. Ms. Winbush.
How y'all doing?
Good.
Good. Thank y'all for this opportunity. I grew up with Derrick, in the neighborhood where most of his crime was committed. I was a little girl, he left the state, was in state custody. Since then, the same community that, has been riddled with poverty and, high incarceration rates, we're bringing, light back to it. I work with Safe Hope for Healthy, which is an initiative with the mayor's office, Sheriff Weston Bruce's office, as well as being the lead over a program called Emerging Diamonds and Diamonds in the Rough, which was birthed out of the work that I, which targets those who are high risk, at risk youth. So the relationship that I have with Derrick is much needed so he can be able to talk to the youth that's here. It's been a gap in our community with so many people like Derrick being incarcerated. So the youth in our community did not have strong leadership, male leadership to look up to. So they idolized the wrong things. Him being gone 27 years and 2 months, he is not the same person that he was when he left here. The conversations between myself and him has been intriguing because now I can hear from the perspective of someone who's been incarcerated so long what is actually needed with our youth. With that being said, I have inside of the program, I connect people to case management mental health services, as well as vital records, making sure that he has, his license, his birth certificate. And I know there's some legislation that changed where the prison is supposed to give that stuff as well, but there are some gaps where they come home when they don't have it. But we, also connect them to peers, like-minded people who are formerly incarcerated, who also are walking into this work. I have a team of 8 men, 5 of them are formerly incarcerated, who's done more than 20 years. Just last night, they had a brotherhood circle where they had at least 25 young men who were high risk. These young men have anchor monitors on, who are currently in the court system. 3 of them, we were able to get them, the judge released them off of their ankle monitors because of the progress that they've had since we've encountered them. It will also, with their, when it comes home, we would also have accountability check-ins, where we're checking in on, to like, Alfred stated, he would do the random test, but just checking in to make sure that, he's holding firm to what he said that he was gonna do. And also the faith-based support. Donkey, is someone who is formerly incarcerated as well, and how he would do the program is based on, it's virtual, like you asked, it would be online, and it's also, he has a central round network here that if he's not here, he has someone who's already able to make direct contact with him. So he'll have a lot of positive reinforcement around him, concerning the mentorship, concerning accountability, concerning just making sure he's an upstanding citizen. So I really pray that you guys give him a second chance. He deserves it. He's not the same person he once was.
Thank you, Neil. I appreciate the work that you do. Safe, hopeful, and healthy. I haven't heard.
Safe, hopeful, and healthy.
All right, Mr. Jacobs,
Yes, ma'am.
I think we're ready to vote. You ready to vote, Mr.
Yes.
Tillis?
Yes.
We're, Mr. Tillis will be voting first.
Mr. Jacobs, I think you've done well in trying to improve yourself. However, I think you need to take some more training and some more classes, and you're needed outside, as some of the people have spoke, to influence other young men. I think at this time, you've not served enough time, and hopefully you have a sentence of 68 years?
Yes, sir.
68 years, you've done 27. I agree with the warden that you probably need to take some more training and classes. So my vote today is to deny.
I concur with Mr. Tillis for the exact same reasons. You still haven't served half of the sentence as a 4th offender yet. But keep up the good work. You are headed in the right direction.
Right. Mr. Jacobs, I would vote a little differently today. My vote would be to grant your parole after completion. I don't think you've had thinking for change, but your record is concerning, but I think you've got some folks here that want to support you and help you and make you successful. I think those wraparound services would serve you well. And I just looked up the Second Chance University, and I like what I see about it. So I think that's a good program too. However, it requires a unanimous vote, as you know. So today, the outcome of today's proceeding is that your parole has been denied. You stay the course and take the classes recommended there by the warden and reapply when you're eligible to do so. You'll have some more time under your belt, and I think you'll be really good luck to you.
Well.
Good morning. Yes, Mr. Leonard, good morning.
Good morning, ma'am. How are you?
Good, thanks for asking. Would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC number.
My name is Alvin Leonard. My DOC number is 129389.
Yes, sir. And my name is Cheryl Renanza, serving as chairman of today's parole panel. Seated with me, Mr. Chucky Tillis to my left, Mr. Danny Bauer to my right.
Gentlemen,
You have, you're represented by counsel. We'd like, well, let's see. Is that, who's with you there at DCI?
yes, ma'am.
Good morning.
Oh, I can't see you, Mr. Lancaster. That's why.
I don't know if the camera can be adjusted here on the institution's end, but I am here present with Mr. Leonard, Robert Lancaster with the LSU Parole and Reentry Clinic. With me is Jordan Green, seated next to Mr. Leonard. She is a second-year student at the clinic. She's not certified under Supreme Court Rule 20, but she is prepared to make a statement of support if the committee deems it appropriate.
Thank you. Thank you. Also here in support, we have the Parole Project, Mr. Myers and Robert MacArthur, who are on Zoom and would like to speak, and we'll call on them at the appropriate time. We also have here a representative from the DA's office, Mr. Randall Meyer, who also wants to speak, so we'll call on him at the appropriate time. First, Mr. Leonard, let me read some identifying information into the record. You're classified as a fourth felony offender. You're currently serving a 30-year sentence. You were sentenced in January 2004 for armed robbery, 3 counts. You have a parole eligibility date, July 17, 2023. You don't earn good time, so your full term date is July 15, 2033. So that sound correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, before your case has been assigned to Mr. Byron, but before we start our interview process, we want to hear from everybody else. And first, that would be you, asking you to tell us why are you in jail? What led you to prison, and why do you think we should to grant you parole today?
Yes, ma'am. First thing first is that the person that I was then, I am not now. At that time, I thought I was under dire circumstances as far as having a financial bill that I wasn't able to pay, child support, because they were taking half of my check. And then once it got to the point where I couldn't take care of my immediate family and my older children and my mother, I went under the influence of a drug and tried to alleviate that bill. And I must say that, you know, under normal circumstances, I wouldn't have done that. But I'd like to acknowledge the last board for pointing me in the right direction, because I said I didn't have a problem. But through some of the classes that I've been through, such as celebration recovery, I understand that I did have a problem and it needed to be addressed. And I did so, and I'd like to thank the board for pointing me in that direction. But nevertheless, I committed these crimes in which I live with every day, because I also feel empathy and have sympathy for the victims, because they didn't ask for this. So that's what happened, ma'am.
Why do you think we ought to grant you parole?
Well, be honest with you, and that's why we are here, for honesty. 21 years, man. 21 years I've sat here and lived not only with the ripple effect that the victims have gone through, my family has gone through, everybody involved in law enforcement and everything, the ripple effect from the classes that I've taken has let me know exactly what they felt. And through that suffering and through the suffering of my family and myself included, this isn't what I want for myself. My desire to change and my desire to be a better person, to be a better man, I've been implementing over the past 21 years. At first, when I came, I thought that I had no hope of getting out. They didn't have the 2045 for me. So I had to start making myself better, start applying, being better. And I did that. I started mentoring. I got with my religious people, and what I did is I just started building and building. Then when I got to a certain point, that's when I wanted to acquire the knowledge of why I did what I did, what was the reasons for it. And that information has helped me greatly. But it began with me wanting to help myself. And if I were to be released, you would never have to worry about me committing any crime whatsoever.
All right, then, let's, can we hear now from Warden Turner? What can you tell us about Mr. Leonard?
Early on, you know, in his incarceration, he had some disciplinary issues, you know, looking at his disciplinary records, but over the past, 6 years, he has remained right up free. He passed 6 years, he's started to get into some programming. He's earned his GED. He is a level 2 trustee here, and he does, what's required, what we ask of him. I would like to see him, take the victims impact class. He has an armed robbery conviction, and I think victims impact will be real helpful to him.
Thank you, sir. Could we hear from Mr. Myers with the Parole Project?
Yes. Good morning, Kerry Myers, Louisiana Parole Project. We're here in support of Mr. Leonard. We were here at his last hearing, supporting him. He's continued to take what the board offered him as advice at his last hearing and continue to apply those suggestions and learnings. He served 2/3 of his sentence. And while he does have a full-time date in 2033, this board has an opportunity to release him under supervision. We all know that discretionary parole supervision outcomes are significantly better than full-time release dates. So that alone would have an impact on his success. Additionally, Parole Project will provide him the case management and resources he needs upon his release. That our program will provide him peer mentorship in programming and how to manage his finances, employment skills, how to workplace etiquette, technology, the things that someone has been incarcerated for more than 21 years absolutely needs upon release. As the warden said, you can clearly see a turning point during his incarceration in change in Mr. Leonard. We believe even he's much more prepared now than he was 2 years ago. and that we would just ask this board to grant his release today under any conditions that they would seem appropriate.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. MacArthur?
All right.
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can.
Hey, how you, I'm just here to attest to Mr. Alvin's character and work ethic. I've been over Mr. Alvin since June of this year when I took over the grounds department here at Eastern Louisiana Mental Health System. Mr. Alvin is one of my best workers. He never complains, does anything asked, respectful, knocks on my door when he comes in my office. I'm looking forward to his parole because I want to continue this relationship outside of this facility. Because I think he's a very good person. And anything I can do to help him, I'm here for him. So with that said, I hope you grant his release.
Well, thank you, Mr. MacArthur, for taking the time out of your day to share those remarks with us. We do appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
All right. Could we hear now from Mr. Meyer?
Good morning, Randall Meyer, Assistant DA, Jefferson Parish. We're opposed still at this time. Mr. Leonard had, he's convicted of 3 armed robberies here. There's victim opposition. And I think he continues to need some programming. As the warden stated, he thinks he needs the victim impact, needs to participate in that. And I'm of the belief he needs some additional vocational programs to assist him with getting a employment when he does eventually get out. I also, believe he needs some long-term substance abuse treatment. As Mr. Leonard stated, he started on some drugs, which was the impetus of committing these robberies, although he did have a prior armed robbery back in 1988 that he pled to first-degree robbery. But something he said in his comments, I think, confirmed that to me. He thanked the board for pointing that out to him, and he said, I did have a problem. Those problems don't go away. He needs to understand that those problems are, the problem of addiction is a forever problem. And I think a long-term substance abuse treatment would help him with that. And I also, another thing I see in the record, I didn't see any AANA programs that he's been participating in. And I think that's extremely important for him to do to stay off the drugs and be a productive member of society. So for those reasons, we're opposed.
No, it's not on me.
Any other questions?
That sounds
Great.
Your case has been assigned to Mr. Barra. Would you answer his questions, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Leonard, I see you had 3 armed robberies, one at the Texaco, one at a Pizza Hut, and one at a Domino's. And when I reviewed the record, some of the descriptions of the gun, one was a chrome gun, one was a black gun, and then I see your lawyer said you had a toy gun. Can you tell me what kind of gun did you have?
Toy gun, sir.
In every single one of them?
A toy gun, sir.
Mr. Morris, did the DA's office find anything different than that?
You're still on mute.
I did not look at that. I will check that, but he did plead to the I believe it was a plea to the armed robbery, which would indicate that he did plead to guilty to 3 counts of armed robbery, which would indicate it's not a toy gun, that it was a real gun.
Right. That's what I was thinking too. All right, thank you. I guess my next question is, Why were you committing these crimes? You say you had a substance abuse, but then kind of at the beginning, you said it was about money. What, was it about both or just money or just up or combination? Why commit 3 armed robberies?
Oh, do I have time for the full explanation, sir?
Yeah.
Full explanation. When I was in prison, this young lady had a baby for me. In 97. So when I got out around 2000, I didn't know that she had gotten on child support. Well, not child support, assistance from the government. They automatically put you on child support. And I had no idea of this. At the same time, I purchased a new car. The motor went out in that. So I was paying that note, trying to take care of my family. Then I got stopped for a ticket and was told about the child support. At that time, I was barbering. So what I did is I stopped barbering and started working for the Jefferson Parish outside maintenance for the water department. So as I'm working and I'm paying my bill as I'm supposed to and taking care of my oldest child, my middle and my youngest and my mother, they started taking half of my check. At that time, I was working with a beeper. So if they called me into work, I had to come into work. But I said, okay, well, let me see if I could get some assistance from the state. So I went to the people over there, and what she said to me, quote unquote, was, Mr. Leonard, that's just your problem. As a young man trying to get out of prison and do the right thing and not run the streets, in which I wasn't, sir. I was going home, going to work, and coming home. It was kind of tough. So I said, when I get my income tax of $3,500, I would see about paying off the majority of this, catching up on some of my bills because I didn't have enough to pay my rent in one check. I had to wait until another check. When they took my $3,500 and I thought at that time, that I was in desperate situation because I couldn't take care of my family and provide for them the way that I was supposed to. Now, under those situations, knowing now what I should have known then, I could have tried harder. I could have went to help or asked for help in different directions, things I didn't understand. That's why in a healing class with Dr. Carroll, we help break down dysfunctional thinking, and my thinking was dysfunctional. Instead of me going the route I should have taken, I fell into desperation, and that's what made me do exactly what I did, because I thought I was just drowning in debt and I couldn't get up. And it's correct that a normal thinking person wouldn't do that, but I did. And I regret that every day. And, you know, I've worked jobs as far as welding and pipe fitting and things of that nature. I have skills, but I didn't have a chance to go and get the job that I needed to get. So here I am.
All right, that answers that question. I have another question about, I'm looking at your parole record, and it looks like you've been revoked 4 different times. Every time you get on supervision, you get revoked for committing a new crime while you're on supervision. What would be different this time if we give you another chance?
difference is, sir, I have a desire and had a desire to change, to become a better person. None of the classes that I've taken would have rehabilitated me if it wasn't for the fact that I want this. Second of all, back then, I thought I was entitled. I thought that I knew everything. But when you go 21 years later and you grow and you learn and you really become the man that you're going to grow into, you realize you didn't know anything. I didn't have the structure in my life that I needed. I didn't have the meaning to understand that I could be better. But now I understand because I no longer have any burdens. The child support has been lifted off of me. I own my own home with my sister, so I have a stable place to live. I have tools to assist me because, as I said, I not only know how to weld, and I not only work as shaw construction, at pipe fitting, and also galvanizing steel in Port Allen, and numerous other job skills that I do have and have worked at. And with the support of an NAA sponsor and me being able to maintain the road that I'm on, because, sir, I have not touched drugs in over 21 years. I have not flunked a drug test. And that started with me. But now I understand through the programming why it is I'm doing what I'm doing. And it's bringing me closer to God because God has a lot to do with this program. So by keeping God in my life and keeping the consistency that I'm on, and as my boss Max said, I'm a hard worker. I do things that they ask me not to do because I know it needs to get done. I want to achieve and be somebody in life. I don't want to be nothing anymore. I want my life to matter. That's why it would be different, sir.
Thank you. That's all the questions I have. Any other questions?
Could you tell us?
If granted, and you got out and got a job again and got behind, fell back into that debt problem again, what would you do?
Sir, the first thing I wouldn't do is get a gun. But I've learned how to cope with stress. And if you get in debt, it's ways that you can call companies and the companies can help you get out of debt. And, you just have to reach out and do your homework instead of just caving into something. Because now I have to think my way through the rest of my life. You can't act impulsively. Sir, I make 60 in December. I do not think impulsively anymore. Any and everything I do has to have a lot of thought into it. And doing the wrong thing, that's not a thought for me to have, period. I respect law enforcement and I will be respecting law enforcement. I respect the rules that are put into place because, as you see right now, I'm not picking up any write-ups. So that means that I'm implementing the things that I'm putting in my life, sir.
How long have you been without a write-up?
About 6 years, sir.
6 years?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I have no more questions.
All right, you sure like to talk, Mr. Leonard, don't you?
I'm sorry.
Now, I will say this, you said a couple things that bother me. You know, and I've enjoyed listening to you though. You said when you were speaking about Mr. MacArthur, I think you called him Mac. You do things that they asked me not to do.
Oh, no. I mean,
That's what you said. I know, that's what you said, but you just said to Mr. Tillis that you got to think about things before you say it. That was probably not a good remark. The other thing you said, you responded when he asked you about, you know, if you get behind, and we all do, we all have financial issues from time to time. What would you do? And you said the first thing you wouldn't do was get a gun, and you thought that was pretty comical, and I didn't. That was concerning to me, the way in which you expressed that. I'll just say it that way. So I just have another remark in that, and then I'll turn it over to your attorney, Ms. Green. The district attorney mentioned that you needed, you know, he was concerned about lack of vocational skills. You said you had all kind of different skills. You named them. You made a list of them. And those, everything that you mentioned was well-paying skills. I mean, you could get a job, a well-paid job for doing those things that you mentioned. So why were you not doing those things instead of doing what you chose to do? You know, applying your skills for good jobs.
Would you like me to answer now, ma'am?
Yeah, if you could do it briefly.
Yes, ma'am. I'll do it briefly. I also went to school for barbering. And at that time when I got out, I was barbering. I did, ma'am?
Yeah, I know you said that earlier.
Yes,
You were barbering.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. I was barbering. I used to work at Norco Refinery as a pipe fitting, but Shaw wanted me to travel, and I chose not to travel. As far as the welding, it's kind of bad for my eyes because my eyes are kind of bad right now. So I chose the vocation that would suit me at that time, which was barbering, and that's what I was doing, building up my clientele until I found out, okay, that's it.
So what would be your job plan whenever you're released?
Well, my job plan is to basically go to one of those vocations that I just told you I really didn't want to, but I do that. And I also do floor finishing, stripping, waxing floors, which I could go to Janny King an instant, or back to the barbering. If not the barbering, I could go to waiting, because I waited tables in New Orleans for a long time, doing banquets and so on and so forth.
Okay. That's good. I mean, you're thinking about different options. I don't have any other questions. We'd like to ask Ms. Green to close out for us.
Good morning, members of the committee. My name is Jordan Green, and I am a second-year law student at LSU. I'm assisting Mr. Alvin Leonard alongside my supervisor, Mr. Robert Lancaster. While I am not certified under Rule 20, I respectfully request the opportunity to speak on Mr. Leonard's behalf if the board deems it appropriate. Over 2 decades ago, when Mr. Leonard entered prison, he was a man who solely thought about himself and lacked the ability and desire to take accountability for his actions. During this time, Mr. Leonard lived a life driven by substance abuse and drinking, which at times altered his behavior and decision-making. Today, however, I'm here to share with you Mr. Leonard's transformation and the man that he is now. Mr. Leonard is a man who realizes the severe impact of his selfish and harmful actions on his victims. He is remorseful for his actions and the immense long-term pain and mental anguish that he caused innocent individuals. He now voluntarily gives his time to others. An example of this is Mr. Leonard serving as a mentor to 2 young inmates. Through this mentorship program, Mr. Leonard was able to guide these individuals, give them advice, and teach them how to not make the same decisions that he once made, and just serve as a source of comfort when times got tough. His commitment to personal growth is reflected in his strong faith. While in prison, Mr. Leonard embraced spirituality and has devoted a significant amount of time to ministering to others. Additionally, Mr. Leonard is a man who values working hard and has found purpose in his work. As a Class B trustee, he has earned the trust of this very institution. He has been trusted to work off-site, doing various jobs such as cleaning up after Southern University games, he was hand-selected to work for DOC, where he did landscaping, and he also earned the supervisory position for the Zachary crew, where he also did landscaping and anything that the city of Zachary requested him to do. Through this, it has been shown that Mr. Leonard is a strong and hard worker and values the trust that this institution has given him. Now, a key question that this committee might have is, how do we know that Mr. Leonard is not going to recidivate? And how do we know that this incarceration will be successful under supervision? Having served 2/3 of his sentence, the likelihood of recidivism and Mr. Leonard being a threat to the community is minimal for several reasons. The first being his age. At 59 years old and with a low score, Mr. Leonard's risk of reoffending significantly lessens. Also, his education. Before coming to prison, Mr. Leonard had not completed high school. However, while incarcerated, he took the opportunity and the initiative to earn his GED, which lessens the likelihood of him recidivating significantly. Also, his programming. Mr. Leonard has completed numerous programs that have equipped him with the vital tools necessary for successful reentry in society. He now takes accountability for his actions, understands his triggers, and makes informed choices while also refraining from making decisions that can put others at harm. Programs such as 100 hours of pre-release, victim awareness, and inner healing have helped him to understand the effects that his actions have had on the victims, his children, his family, and the community at large. In Mr. Leonard's own words, these programs have allowed me to see that my actions have had a ripple effect on so many people, and for that, I am truly remorseful. Now, I know that Warden Turner said that he would have indicated that Mr. Leonard needs additional programming such as victim impact. If granted release, one of the conditions that the board can grant is that Mr. Leonard takes victim impact along with any other programming necessary before he is able to be released. And Mr. Leonard would be more than willing to do that. Also, substance abuse programming. Following the committee's recommendation during his last hearing, Mr. Leonard diligently completed substance abuse programs, including Celebration Recovery, NAAA, and Living in Balance. He has gained valuable knowledge on personal accountability. Again, he has identified his triggers and acquired essential tools to make informed choices regarding substance abuse. Notably, Mr. Leonard has not received one write-up regarding substance abuse since he's been incarcerated. If granted early release, Mr. Leonard will work with the Louisiana Parole Project, which will further enhance his knowledge and skills in relapse prevention. Additionally, he will immediately join in a local AA chapter where he will have a sponsor to provide guidance and accountability as he continues his recovery journey. Furthermore, Mr. Leonard has a strong reentry plan. As mentioned before, he will go through the Louisiana Parole Project, and upon completion of the program, he will reside in a home that he owns in St. Rose, Louisiana, with his sister. Although not physically present, Mr. Leonard has a strong support system, a lot of whom are watching this hearing on YouTube Live, who will aid in his success upon release. He has been offered multiple jobs, including a job with the Eastern Louisiana Mental Health Services, where he will continue doing the work that he does now, which is groundskeeping. He will also work with the Louisiana Parole Project to ensure that his employment plan is strong and longstanding. Pursuant to Louisiana Legislative Act number 122, Mr. Leonard is eligible for parole after serving at least 20 years of his sentence and reaching the age of 45. Parole provides an opportunity for individuals to continue their growth and pay their debt to society while under supervision. Mr. Leonard has worked diligently to become a man of faith, discipline, and service. He has transformed into someone who thoughtfully considers his actions and is committed to helping others and his community. Having served 2/3 of his sentence, Mr. Leonard is ready to continue his journey of rehabilitation by contributing positively to society. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
All right, thank you. Well done. Is the panel prepared to vote?
I'd like to call for an executive session, please.
We have a motion for executive session.
Second.
There's a second. Could you call the roll?
Cheryl Nelson.
Yes.
Danny Virus.
Yes.
Chuck Tilley.
Yes.
Okay, we will be in executive session, Mr. Leonard, for a few moments. Just stand by. We'll be right back. All right, Mr. Leonard, we are back in session. Oh, there's Mr. Lancaster. I can see you now. Mr. Leonard, we're back in regular session. It's 10:55 a.m. and we are prepared to vote. Mr. Barra will be voting first.
All right. We're gonna vote, I'm gonna vote to grant parole conditionally. And the first thing you're gonna have to do is complete the victim impact before you release from prison. Okay, and then once you release, we're gonna add the special condition that you follow up with the parole project for 1 year minimum. That you speak to at-risk youth quarterly about the bad decisions and where they can get you. And that will be set up by the parole project also. That you continue a substance abuse treatment program after your release. Also set up and monitored by the parole project. That you abide by curfew from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. unless for work or church. And that must be approved by your probation and parole officer in advance. Do you understand those conditions?
Yes, sir.
All right, that's my vote.
All right, Mr. Tillis.
Mr. Allen, you ever thought about being a politician?
No, sir.
My vote is to grant also. I concur with my colleague, same conditions.
So I do agree. I appreciate that you did whatever the previous recommended and really engaged and immersed yourself in substance abuse. I was impressed by what Mr. MacArthur said. I was pleased to hear from Ms. Green that you still have that possibility as an employment opportunity after release with the East Louisiana system. So my vote is the same. It would be to grant your parole with the same conditions outlined by Mr. Barra. You understand?
Yes, ma'am, and I'd like to thank everybody on the board. Thank you.
Good luck to you. Don't disappoint us.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Thank you.
Good morning. We're, Mr. Triplett, would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and your DOC number.
CEDRIC TRIPLETT 130130.
Okay, let me introduce the panel to you. My name is Cheryl Renaxa. Seated to my left is Mr. Chucky Tillis, and to my right is Mr. Danny Barra. We are your parole panel today. And I represented this morning by council, and I'd ask council to introduce your team.
Good morning. Robert Lancaster with LSU Parole and Reentry Clinic here today representing Mr. Triplett. With me is Hannah Lewis, who is a second-year student at the Law Center enrolled in the Parole and Reentry Clinic. She's not certified under Louisiana Supreme Court Rule 20, but she did assist in the preparation of this hearing. And if the committee deems it appropriate, she is prepared to make a statement in support.
Well, we would like her to do that for us at the end of our interview. Also here in support, we have Mr. Myers with the Parole Project. At DCI, we have relatives in support. Vanolia Emery, Kendrick Emery, Jimmy Johnson, Melinda Ringo, Nathany Harrison, Sheila Horn, and Antoinette Jackson. And for those of you who've indicated you'd like to speak, we'll call on you at the appropriate time. Here in opposition on Zoom, we have Ms. Dana Bourgeois and the representative from the District Attorney's Office, Ms. Tracy Barbera, and we'll call on them for their remarks also. First, Mr. Triplett, you've done this before, so and you know the process.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
I'll be identifying information into the record for the record. You are classified as a second felony offender. You're currently serving a sentence that is 54 years, 5 months, and 10 days. Sentence, and then you have a sentencing in 1990 for robbery. That was revoked. You have a sentence also in April of 1999, attempted second-degree murder as an habitual offender on robbery. You have a parole eligibility date, which was August 1st, 2021. Good time release date is set at September 17, 2014. Is that information correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and our format's a little different, Mr. Triplett, than you're used to. First, we'd like to hear from you. We'd like for you to tell us what led you to prison, why you're in jail, and why you think we should vote to grant your parole to them.
What led me to prison is I pulling a robbery, you know, and I take full responsibility for my action because first of all, I shouldn't have done what I've done, you know, so I take full responsibility, and I like to give myself blessed thanks to the victim. I'm sorry for the pain and suffering. I call Miss Dana Bourgeois and community and the neighbors, everybody be affected behind my the problems I caused, you know. So I just like to thank y'all for everything. And first of all, I just what led me I just been rehabilitated. I went to Angola and I got my life. I say I have to change, you know, I can't go in the way I come out. So I say I was gonna change my attitude, my thinking. So I got I got baptized and I have got my GED and I had got into the hospice program. And I say I have to go thinking a different way, you know. I can't come back the same way I was. Because that was no good. So, and I started thinking positive. I went to church, got my life together, you know, and I just kept going on with my certificates where I can change my life.
All right. Warden Turner, what can you tell us about Mr. Triplett?
Cedric's been a model inmate since he's been here. He's completed various programming classes that we offer. He's also gotten his GED since he's been incarcerated, like he said. And one thing I want to commend him on, he's been writing write-up free for the last 14 years. So he hasn't had a write-up in just close to 14 years, and he is a proud member.
All right, great. Thank you. Thank you. So we'd like to hear from the family who is there with you, who'd like to speak on your behalf. We'll hear from them first. Could we hear from Sheila Horn, please?
Good morning, board. I am Cedric's sister Sheila. I drove 6 hours from Texas to tell you that my brother was wrong for what he had done. My heart and prayers goes out to the victim in this case. I also came here to ask you for forgiveness. Please forgive my brother for what he has done. My brother has spent over 20-some years in prison away from his family. Our mother is 84 years old. Please give her the opportunity to see her son walk out of this prison. Let me tell you something about my brother. He has a heart of gold. He is the type of person who always concerned about his family and friends. He would be the one to check on everybody in the family. And when he went to prison, he still checked on everybody. When inmates call, the call say, you have a collect call. When Cedric called, the call say, you have a free call for Cedric. He takes his money to pay for the call. I have no doubt in my mind that I have no doubt in my mind that he has been rehabilitated. And please give him the opportunity to re-enter back into society and to become a productive citizen again. And I thank each and every one of you for your time. And y'all have a good day.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thanks for driving all that way. Appreciate it. Miss Antoinette Jackson, please.
Good morning. My name is Antoinette Jackson. I am Cedric's oldest niece. I come here today pleading with you guys for the release of my uncle, not only just for me, but our entire family. We understand and we do acknowledge the fact that what Cedric did was wrong. And we also understand that he did something that put somebody, I'm sorry, I'm nervous, that just hurt someone else. We acknowledge that, but he is also a person that have come a mighty, mighty long way. From the time he entered, he's always been the one that, took care of everyone or saw everyone, but I have noticed a difference in these last few years, just been coming up here to visit, that his attitude has changed tremendously. He caters to us when we come, when we come to sit, it's trying to make sure that we have the things that we need when we're here. I know he's been through countless programs. He's done various hours. I'm exceptionally proud of the fact that he was able to get his GED and that he's been baptized. He's always been one to maintain and hold a steady job. So I have no doubt that with the project that he's with, that he will gain employment and become a productive citizen of society. My prayer is just that for these upcoming holidays, it's been years that for Thanksgiving and Christmas, we have huddled in a circle, and my grandmother says this wonderful prayer, where she puts all of her children in this prayer, but there's always a little extra for him because he's not there. And my prayer is that this year, that he gets to hear it himself, as opposed to feeling it, that he actually gets to hear the words come out of her mouth as he is in that circle with us this go around. I thank you for your time. I appreciate you giving us this opportunity to express our feelings. And I do want to say to the victim in this case that we are so very sorry. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Mr. Myers, parole project.
Good morning. Thank you again for letting me speak for Mr. Triplett today. We've supported Mr. Triplett at his last hearing. Again, we continue to support him. He's continued to show the progress and the rehabilitation that we knew before. In the last 17 years, he's had one disciplinary write-up. That was 14 years ago. That was a Schedule A write-up. He's completed his GED. He has been committed to AANA for more than a decade. He continues to show his rehabilitation through compassion and humanity as a hospice volunteer, which is very significant, something that very few people can do. He has skills in carpentry and automotive technology. At age 51, he served 25 years. He is still employable, very employable at age 51. Parole Project will provide him the support that he needs upon transition. Our employment team will work diligently to get him gainful employment. He'll have the mentorship and the coaching and things like financial management, technology, job skills, how to interact with his fellow employers and supervisors, and the other skills that we provide. We believe Mr. Triplett is well suited for release. He has a strong support system, and we ask this board to grant his release under any conditions they would seem appropriate today.
All right, good. Thank you. All right, at this time, we'll hear from the opposition. Ms. Dana Bourgeois. Is she on the line with us?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
How do I do that? Do I start now?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm here today to oppose the parole of this violent habitual criminal. I am here because I believe that releasing him would pose a significant threat to public safety and myself, given his history of multiple extremely violent crimes and my attempted murder. Had it not been for the Louisiana legislature and the Act 122, we wouldn't even be here today. We both agreed to the plea deal that he was be sentenced to 49 and a half years for the savage and homicidal crimes against me, and to finish the other 5 years he had on his parole for a previous brutal armed robbery. The sentences were to be served consecutively and without parole, instead of the possible 99 years he could have received at trial. Besides the fact that he shouldn't even be up for parole for this heinous crime, he hasn't even served half of his time yet. His release date is October of 2052. He still has 28 years left to pay his debt to society and to me. This violent habitual criminal's extensive criminal history includes at least 3 violent armed robberies, battery, running from the police, DUIs, and attempted murder. These are not isolated incidents, but part of a pattern of violent behavior that shows a disregard for human life and safety of others. The gravity of these crimes cannot be understated. They have left lasting emotional and psychological scars on me and his other victims, one of who couldn't speak here today because it was more than he could cope with. Violent criminals with such a record have been shown to have a high rate of reoffending. Given this criminal's pattern of behavior and that his violence escalated with each crime, releasing him would pose a significant threat to public safety and myself. I do not want to be standing next to his next victim's family on the news saying I did everything I could to keep him right where he belongs, because I promise you he will fix his mistake with me and make sure the next one is dead, so there'll be no witness to identify him. And how many chances do we give a violent habitual criminal? He's had multiple chances. He was on parole when he shot me twice in the chest as I begged for my life because I had a baby at home who needed his mom. Then he left me for dead. He was given a chance to become a productive member of society, and instead of doing that, he chose to become even more violent and escalated his crimes even further. While on parole, he received a DUI, and the night before he shot me, he beat his girlfriend for calling his work and asking him to bring home diapers. What kind of man does that? He had even just been, if he had just been kept on a parole violation, we wouldn't even be here right now. He posted no bail, no consequence. He just had a summons to appear in court. He was given another chance to do the right thing. Then what does he do? Puts 2 bullets in my chest the next morning while I was simply just working to care for my family. Do we keep giving him chances till he actually kills someone? Does he get yet another chance because I didn't die? Each chance he has already received, he still chose violence, each crime getting more violent than the last. At his commutation of sentence hearing in 2022, he said he tried to kill me because he was an alcoholic. At his parole hearing in 2022, he said he tried to kill me because he didn't want to pay child support. I had to die because he didn't want to take care of his children. I was an innocent mother, and I was at work doing what I had to do to take care of my child. But I had to die for his lack of morals, values, or anything that would make him a decent human being. So by all of this, we have established this criminal is extremely violent, lacks any regard for human life, and doesn't even care for his own children because he's willing to kill innocent people so he doesn't have to pay out of pocket for his own, to take care of them. I'm sure you've all read my letter and know every detail of what happened that day. But just keep in mind that this criminal, who has no regard for human life, shot me at point blank range in the chest as I begged for my life because I had a baby at home who needed his mama. He left only to come back and discover I wasn't dead. So he placed the barrel of the gun flush to the middle of my chest and said, "You're not getting up, bitch," and blew a large hole in the middle of my chest. While in the hospital, fighting for my life, one of the detectives had asked the hospital to put me under an alias. I still have it. He had gone to school with this criminal. He knew his tendency for violence and knew there was a chance he would come and finish the job once he had learned I had survived. My alias was compromised, so they had to change it to keep me safe until they caught him. I struggle daily with anxiety, stress, and PTSD. This has affected every aspect of my life. I lost simple things in my life with my family. I can't be anywhere I do not feel safe. I work for a public school system, and we consistently do active shooter drills. Each time I sit among the students, I have to put on a brave and calm persona. I can smell the aroma of gunpowder each second we sit there in hiding. In the silence, I'm convinced everyone can hear my heart as it gets louder and stronger and faster with each beat. My head spins, and I feel like I feel my stomach in my chest while hoping I do not vomit on the student next to me. It is hard to overcome things like bronchitis because the scar tissue in the bullet fragments in my lungs. My doctors have to treat congestion or cough very seriously because they fear my lungs will not be able to handle pneumonia. My left lung does not operate at full capacity. I get winded very easily. I can no longer have an MRI. I have large bullet fragments in my chest. Not being able to have this necessary scan almost cost me my life again. And it could cost me my life in the future. In 2017, my breast cancer diagnosis was delayed for many months after several mammograms and ultrasounds couldn't give a definitive result. The doctors desperately needed to do an MRI. So much time passed and the disease progressed to stage 3 before it was finally diagnosed. Had it been caught with an MRI at the much earlier stage, my treatment would have been much more different. I had to undergo 6 months of a very brutal combination of 3 chemo drugs, 30 rounds of radiation, and a double radical mastectomy. My remission cannot be monitored as doctors would prefer making it hard for them to discover a reoccurrence. Even with a double radical mastectomy and countless reconstructive surgeries, one thing remains, a 2 by 3 inch raised keloid score in the middle of my chest where he blew the hole with the second shot when he came back to discover I was still alive. The brutal treatments also destroyed other parts of my body that require many surgeries. Some surgeries, doctors go in semi-blind because they do not have the proper diagnostic tool, an MRI. I will fight every single time he has a hearing. I will continue to go to the newspapers and the news stations and have my story told on the news and let the community and the state constituents be outraged each time and continue to fight with me. Your duty to protect the public should outweigh any consideration of early release in this case. I believe that releasing him would place the community and his past victims at risk, including me. His past actions demonstrate that he is capable of extreme violence. The risk to public safety is simply too great. Thank you.
Thank you. That's not easy. We're going to look back to Ms. Marbera at the end after our interview. So, Mr. Triplett, your case has been assigned to Mr. Byrock to answer his questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Why did you think you had to shoot Miss Bourgeois?
Excuse me, sir, I didn't hear you.
Why did you think you had to shoot Miss Bourgeois? Why did you do that? Could have just left like you did the last time.
Yes, sir, you're right. I'll take full responsibility for my action.
Why'd you do it though?
Well, I shouldn't have done it. Like I say, I take full responsibility for my action, you know.
That's the only question I have.
Any questions? All right, Miss Lewis, would you want to make your presentation?
Ma'am. Good morning, members of the committee. My name is Hannah Lewis, and I'm a second-year student with the LSU Law Parole and Reentry Clinic. I've been assisting Cedric in his preparation for this hearing today, and alongside me is my supervisor, Robert Lancaster. I'm not certified under Rule 20. As he mentioned, if you deem it appropriate, I've prepared a statement to give in support of Mr. Triplett's release. Cedric,
go ahead.
Cedric is a perfect example of the justice system working. He comes before you today after having served 26 years, nearly half of his sentence, during which Cedric has transformed himself. The man you see before you is one who has confronted his problems and past mistakes and is persistent about continuing to better himself. Cedric has not merely served his time, he has used every opportunity to strive for personal growth and rehabilitation, emerging as a truly changed person. Cedric understands that one central concern for the committee during this hearing is recidivism. However, Cedric's advanced age and low Tiger score suggests that he poses no threat to society, and further, his institutional record reflects that of someone who has made the most of the resources available to him and has embraced every opportunity to contribute to his personal growth and rehabilitation. What truly sets Cedric apart is his foresight and motivation to better himself, even when parole eligibility seemed like a distant possibility. As noted by the committee in his previous hearing, Cedric began taking classes and self-improvement programs before parole eligibility was even possible for him. And he did this early on in his incarceration, earning him his high school equivalency diploma in 2000. Cedric actually completed around 17 courses and programs during his 26 years of incarceration, which include repeated anger management and substance abuse courses. At his last hearing, the committee recommended that Cedric take a victim impact training course, which is something that he immediately followed through with, completing it with great seriousness and reflection. In this course, Cedric learned about the effects of trauma on victims in the community as a result of criminal misbehavior. He understands the gravity of his past actions and the impact that they've had on others, and this training only deepened his desire to contribute positively to society upon his release. As mentioned, Cedric has not received a write-up since 2010, over 14 years ago, and he has never received a write-up since entering at LSP for a substance abuse related matter. CEDRIC also maintains a PRIDE membership status. PRIDE stands for Prisoner Rehabilitation through Integrity, Discipline, and Education. Membership of this is reserved for inmates who, like CEDRIC, have demonstrated discipline and commitment to upholding high moral and behavioral standards, which further evidences CEDRIC's commitment to positive change. This positive conduct was further affirmed by Warden Bickham at his previous hearing, who noted, like the warden today, that CEDRIC is a model inmate who is always willing to help. CEDRIC consistently receives the trust of this institution as he has worked many events, including the Angola Prison Rodeo, where he has been able to work as selling items made in his hobby shop craft for the last 10 years. He was actually there 2 weeks ago doing such. Upon his release, CEDRIC will have a comprehensive support system in place that will ensure a smooth transition back into society. The Louisiana Parole Project is ready to assist CEDRIC in obtaining housing, employment, and the essential services that he needs. They're also prepared to pair CEDRIC with his local AA group so that he is able to attend those meetings as he so desires. Furthermore, CEDRIC has the complete support of his siblings, mother, children, and a large extended family, many of whom you'll see seated with us here today. CEDRIC's long-term commitment to self-improvement, along with his positive disciplinary record and participation in meaningful programs, demonstrates that he has fully rehabilitated himself and is ready to reintegrate into his community. For these reasons, Mr. Triplett prays that you would vote in favor of granting his release today. He prays that you would consider his growth and the strides that he has made over the past 26 years in voting in favor of his release. He assures you that he will approach this opportunity with an appreciative and fully rehabilitated mindset. He is no longer burdened by the tainted mindset of his past. He is committed to sobriety, rehabilitation, and personal growth. CEDRIC does not and did not have an excuse for the crime that he committed. He does not evade accountability, but rather takes full responsibility for his wrongful actions. And as I said, he is no longer burdened by that tainted mindset. He has rehabilitated and transformed his mind. He has a new thought process and has learned self-control to a degree that he will be able to effectively re-enter society. For these reasons, Mr. Triplett prays that you will grant him release and thanks you for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Very well done. So we'll ask Ms. Barbera to close it out for us, please.
Thank you, Chairman Renata. Again, Tracy Barbera is a representative of the District Attorney in the 19th Judicial District. Once again, there is nothing more I can say about the impact of this crime upon the victim. Dana Bourgeois is an extremely strong woman, and she is a true survivor. I simply would like to point out that Dana mentioned that he could have received 99 years for this crime. Actually, he could have received 198 years as a second felony offender, double the maximum penalty for armed robbery. It was a negotiated plea, and he received the minimum as a second felony offender. Habitual offenders in East Baton Rouge Parish historically have not been pursued with any degree of regularity, but an individual who commits an armed robbery and then commits another armed robbery on parole and then tries to kill his victim, tries to kill the individual who could represent him, that is what justified the habitual offender proceeding in this case. I would respectfully submit that a crime that was inches away from being a first-degree murder, I mean, truly, by the grace of God, Dana did not die, and Mr. Triplett was not arrested for first-degree murder. A crime of that nature, I do not believe supports a minimum term of incarceration. I commend Mr. Triplett for the things he is doing while incarcerated. He is serving a purpose and making a difference. I commend Professor Lancaster's group for the excellent work that they do in these cases. I cannot, however, in good faith, say that I believe it is Mr. Triplett's time to be released. I think he needs to remain incarcerated, and there needs to be a higher degree of accountability for the actions that he did. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate it. All right, I think we are prepared to vote. Mr. Byron?
Today, I'm gonna have to vote to deny parole based on the heinous and serious nature of the crime and the victim being shot multiple times, your long history of armed robbery, habitual offender status, strong victim opposition, and law enforcement opposition, who wrote notes in their letters that said half of a sentence is not enough time yet. So for those reasons, I vote to deny.
Mr. Tillis?
I commend you for trying to better yourself, and I hope you continue to, but at this time, I think you need to serve more time, and my vote is to deny.
All right, Mr. Triplett, I was impressed by what Warden Turner said, that you're a model inmate, and so excited that you were able to get your GED, which is a difference in your life. I made a note that you have served as a hospice volunteer, and you know that's an easy thing to do. So I commend you for that. I do. I think you have come a long way, but I heard Ms. Bourgeois loud and clear, and the DA, that you had a negotiated plea agreement you agreed to. And so I don't think today's your time. My vote today is to deny your parole based on the opposition and the plea that you agreed to. So today, sir, your parole's been denied. Good luck to you. Stay the course. Stay the course.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Thornton, good morning.
Good morning.
Would you introduce yourself to the panel? Tell us your name and DOC number for the record.
Jesse Thornton, 11-15-93.
All right, Mr. Thornton, let me introduce the panel. I'm Cheryl Renatza. Mr. Chucky Tillis is seated to my left. Mr. Danny Byra is seated to my right. You're familiar with the process because you've been through parole hearing before, haven't you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so, and let me acknowledge you have your sister here, Ms. Joan Williams, and we're going to call on her at the appropriate time. So we're just going to get started right away. Mr. Thornton, you're classified as a fourth felony offender. You're currently serving a balance of your sentence, which is 6 years, 6 months, and 22 days. You are here. Your conviction was in 2022, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, possession with intent to distribute marijuana, distribution of cocaine as a habitual offender. You were sentenced in November 22 in Orleans Parish. Your parole eligibility at this time is at our discretion because you were already paroled and revoked. And you have an adjusted good time date, October 22nd, 2026. Does all that sound correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So considering, Mr. Thornton, that you were on parole, you were granted parole, it wasn't good time, in 2020, and you were since revoked, I think, in 2022, why do you think we ought to re-parole you?
Because back then, I wasn't right, but I'm right now. I had some ups and downs, but I corrected it. Me and my fiance had words, got into verbal words. That's why I had violated myself, because I was tired of going through the changes with her. We was engaged, and I seen where, she wasn't right for me. So I violated myself to get away from her. We're not together now, and I'm at peace. I thought that I was in love with her. I thought she loved me, but she didn't love me because she always get mad with me and want to put me in jail. She used that as a stepping stone, knowing I was on parole. So she used that. Every time she get mad with me, she calls the police on me. And I wasn't doing nothing wrong. I did everything right. I was in the shelter. My parole officer made me go to the shelter because of that. We're always getting into it. So she happened to call the shelter saying it was emergency. So they called me from the shelter where I was staying at. And I was under y'all had me on a special condition that I couldn't go to her or live with her no more. So while she calling me, my motion got involved, and I went to the house, and we started arguing again outside her house. She wanted some money. She wanted my truck, so I told her I didn't have it, and she said, "Well, I'm gonna get you," and she called the police and told the police that I hit her, but the neighbors was outside. The neighbors was outside, and they seen that we was working, in an argument, and we started arguing, and the policeman came on the scene, and they arrested me, but I was sorry from going over there, and I was sorry, I'm sorry for that occur at the time, but like I said, my emotion and feeling, I thought that she had loved me, but she was trying to trap me, and that's how that went. But I'm sorry that I had went over there. I'm sorry for her that we had got into it. I'm sorry for the kids was outside, heard us arguing, and the neighbors. I'm sorry, from that. I learned from that.
Yeah, well, it took you a long time to learn because you were arrested you got out in September of 2020. You were arrested in 1, 2, 3 different times in 2021 for a domestic issue. April of 21, June of 21, December of 21, and then again in October of 2022. What took you so long?
Like I say, I was love struck. I thought this woman had loved me, but she didn't. You know, she didn't love me. But I was, like I said, I was doing everything right. But I guess it wasn't right for her because she wanted, she wanted to be the aggressor. And I didn't, like I said, I didn't do nothing wrong, but I was wrong by going back over there because I was you all put me on a special condition not to
Right.
go over. Y'all put me on a special condition, and I revoked that, and I'm sorry that I revoked it because I'm thinking that my emotion and feeling that's why I was we was
Right.
engaged.
I understand. So we're talking about Miss Paula Cooks.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So since you've been back in jail, October of 2022, and you've been at, let's see, you've been at DCI for over a year. What programs have you taken since you've been in jail again?
Anger management and living in balance, and I did pre-release.
You done with pre-release?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, I'll say this, I was very disappointed, and I do notice that since you've been back in jail since October of 23, you've gotten no new write-ups. But I was a little disappointed to see that you were back in jail after having been paroled because we're very selective over who we parole. Let me ask the warden. Warden, is there anything you can add? Tell us about Mr. Thornton.
Not a whole lot, Ms. Renata. We just got him here recently, but what I can say is that we haven't had any issues with him since he's been with us, and he's also he's a trustee here with us. So
Good. All right. What's your job there, Mr. Thornton?
I'm Sally Port Arley.
Okay.
We cut grass. Excuse me.
No, go ahead.
We cut grass. Make sure the Sally Port are clean. When mail come out, I with the officer get the mail and bring to the major's office. And
Do you like it? Must be good at it. That's a pretty good job.
yeah, I love it. And I pick up, take the flags down, the American flag, and put them up.
So let me ask you this. I don't know what's going to happen today, but whenever you get out of jail, where are you going to go live?
Well, I'm going to live with my sister, John Williams.
Right, she's with us, and we'll hear from her in just a minute. How are you going to support yourself?
I get disability. I'm disabled. I get every third I get my income.
How much is that?
It's like $1,800 a month.
Okay. All right. Any questions?
You got them all. How do you feel about this woman now? You still in love with her?
No, I'm not. Actually, I'm not. We're not together no more. I moved on with my life, and I saw she moved on with hers. But I can't. I just can't go back to her because we always arguing about simple things, you know, and if it ain't our way, it's no way. And she, you know,
You're gonna move back to the same town where she is?
no, sir. No, sir. Matter of fact, I'm gonna be staying across the river, not over on us. I'm gonna stay on, she's still on the east bank and I'm going on the west bank.
Okay. And just for your information, she has a protective order against you. So you can't go back even if it wasn't just for, you wanted to because you saw her in the grocery store and you wanted to tell her you're sorry or anything like that. Don't even talk to her because you're gonna get arrested. She has a protective order against you. Any contact within 50 feet, I believe it is, you're gonna be arrested.
Okay, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. Just want to make sure you're aware of that.
Okay, we're gonna hear from your sister now, Miss Williams.
Hello?
We can hear you.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I'm Joan Williams. I'm Jesse's sister. And what I want to say, because I am supporting him, and like you said, he was having a lot of issues with the lady, considered as his fiance. But I already thought that she was not, marriage material. And like I said, she's always, both of them are always arguing and fussing. And I told Jesse to leave her alone because she wasn't good for him. And so every time that they would get in an argument, I must, from what I've heard, she gets upset and then she will call the police on him, and he doesn't even have to do anything. Just because she didn't have her way, she would call the police and say, "Hey, Jesse hit me." And so, I believe the last time he didn't do it, like you said, he did a lot of arguing. And he will be living with me. I have a 4-bedroom home, so he can stay with me until, he gets situated and settled. And like he said earlier, I do live on the West Bank. I live in Harvey, so it's a little distance from where he lives. He doesn't have a car, so hopefully he doesn't catch the transportation bus to do anything. So he'll be with me that time. I do have my husband that lives with me as well. So we both agree that he can live with us, until he gets settled. So I'm trusting that, he is going to do the right thing. I can hear, on conversations when I talk to him that he just really is through with Miss Paula. And so I believe him.
All right, thank you, ma'am. All right, Mr. Thornton, I don't know, I think we're ready to vote. I'm not sure still how I feel about your situation. I think I might believe some of what you say, but to have the police called on 4 different times within a year is quite concerning to me. Regardless of what you say, I mean, there's 2 sides to every story, and we don't have the opportunity to hear from Ms. Cooks. I'm glad she has a protective order in place, and I'm glad you understand you can have no contact with her whatsoever. But I'm a little concerned about the domestic abuse issues. So I can't vote to grant you parole today. You have a good time released. You like your job. You seem to be doing well where you're at. The warden says you're doing well. You have a good time date in October of 2026, and I think that's appropriate in this case. Mr. Tillis?
I concur with Ms. Renata. I think maybe a little bit more time away from this woman might do you some good. So my vote is to deny today.
Mr. Barra?
And I concur with them for the same reasons.
Warden, I'm thinking I know his risk score maybe is not indicative, but I'm thinking for change class would do him some good.
Okay, we'll take care of that, Ms. Renata.
Thank you. Mr. Thornton, your parole's been denied, but I wish you well. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Williams, for participating today.
Hey,
All right. Mr. Tucker,
Yes, ma'am.
good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Would you introduce yourself to the panel, please? Tell us your name and your DOC number.
John Tucker, 459-369.
All right, Mr. Tucker, let me introduce the panel to you. My name is Cheryl Renatza. Mr. Tillis is seated to my left and Mr. Barai is seated to my right. Let me read some information into the record for you. And then we'll get started, okay?
All right.
Mr. Tucker, you're classified as a fourth felony offender. Thank you. I appreciate that. You are currently serving a 3-year sentence. You were sentenced in Claiborne Parish in August of 2023 for aggravated battery. You have a parole eligibility date, which is March 8, 2025, and your good date is September 9, 2025. Is that information correct? As far as you,
but yeah, I think so.
okay. Well, that's what I have in the record, so I'm just going to assume that it's accurate. So, Mr. Tucker, before we get started with our parole interview, we'd like you to tell us how did you end up in jail? Why are you here? And why do you think we ought to grant you parole?
I took that, me and my wife took in one of my daughter's friends was a kid, and she just started running over my wife there. And I locked her out one night and she come beating on my door and her boyfriend was there. And when I seen him, I just pushed her and she fell off the porch. What really happened.
So you pushed her off the porch or she fell off the porch?
Yeah, I mean, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So why do you think we ought to grant you parole?
Because I've done everything you asked me to do. I haven't got no write-up. Who else is eligible? I mean,
good.
Write-ups don't mean nothing.
All right. Well, let's, Warden Turner, is there anything you can tell us about Mr. Tucker?
Yes.
We just recently got him a little over about a year ago. He's done what we've asked of him here at Ms. Renatza. He actually jumped in a lot of classes, try to help his release date out. And he's currently now enrolled in nurturing and parenting. So he's doing some good things.
Right, good to hear. Mr. Tucker, your case has been assigned to Mr. Tillis. Would you answer his questions?
How you doing, Mr. Tucker?
How you doing?
All right, I read your case and I went through it a couple of times. So it wasn't your wife you hit?
No, my wife, no, sir, my wife died.
So it was a lady that was staying there with you?
Yeah, but I didn't hit her either. She tried. I only hit him because I don't hit women and stuff.
Yeah, they said the woman's chin was swollen, and so I guess she got that from falling off the porch or wherever.
Yeah, she had to, sir.
I think you answered a few questions that I wanted to know. You are taking some classes, anger management, stuff like that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, that's all the questions I have.
Ms. Farr, any questions?
I have no questions.
Well, Mr. Tucker, the version that we have in our report is certainly different from what your version is. Did you go to trial?
No.
Did a plea agreement?
Yeah.
Pled guilty, okay. All right, well, I don't see any more questions, so I think we're prepared to vote, Mr. Tillis.
Yes. Your full time is December 8th, 2025. I'm going to vote to deny today your parole.
Mr. Byron.
Yeah.
I'm going to concur with Mr. Tillis also, but vote, note the strong law enforcement opposition. And you actually can get out before December. You got a good time date of 9/9/25.
Just correction. I'm looking at an adjusted date of 5/12/2025. That'll be May of next year.
Oh, that's good.
Good.
That's good.
And he's still, is he enrolled in anything now?
he's in nurturing and parenting. That'll give him another 60 days. So that should put him out around March of next year.
Perfect. All right, Mr. Tucker, I think it's important that you be able to complete the program you're enrolled in. And my vote today is to deny based on the district attorney's opposition and the strong law enforcement opposition. Take advantage of the program opportunities, sir. It's going to do you well. Today, your parole's been denied, sir. And Warden, I think that finishes our business at your facility today. Thanks for accommodating.
Yes, ma'am. That's it.
Sign off, 12:26.
Thank you.